all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey, how y'all doing? Give me a quick second. Okay. Okay. So I know that people wanted me to touch the whole do men like women situation. I'll touch it for a second just because I promised I would, right? I need to make sure that the context is understood because of where this is even really coming from. The clip is right here. I'm gonna go ahead and share it real quick. Now, this is the clip. These two right here. These two. I'm gonna be nice today. I'm not gonna call it a name. These two though. These two. I'm just gonna let you hear it.
Actual men don't like women for real. They don't. They like women sexually, but they don't like women. They're not attracted to what a woman is outside of her sexual organs. So then when we get into why a lot of men womanize, or why it's just they're minimizing a woman based off of who she slept with or who she potentially can sleep for, it, because it's like you haven't gained the appreciation of the wholeness of a woman yet, and what that wholeness of a woman can bring to your life. A lot of times we'll talk about strength and we'll say men are stronger than women, but that's because we value physical strength. We're not talking about emotional strength, spiritual strength. Yeah. We're not talking about the type of strength that can run a household. And we're not putting that same type of weight. And what I would encourage, and this was the shift that I had to do, is I had to start liking the wholeness of a woman outside of sex. And then when you do that, now you appreciate the things a complete woman can bring to your life. A lot of heterosexual men life. When we talk about the Bible talks about finding a capable wife, right? That capable wife, that person that if you was to stumble, can pick up the ball and start running. And there's a lot of men that have just a wife because they was only concerned about what she can do in the bed. Yeah. And so what I'm just encouraging men to do is just and it's for our own benefit, because a lot of us, especially men with some type of means, we end up finding a dependent, not a partner. Yeah, she can fuck us good, but if you was able to stumble, bro, what the fuck is gonna happen with your family? And so I just encourage men to be, I'm not gonna say more because that's unrealistic to a lot of men, but as attracted to what she brings as a feminine energy to your life outside of just what you're doing in between.
Check this out. So to that point,
life, when we talk about the Bible.
So That's the context of the clip. That's the context of the conversation that's been going around, right? Now, the other day, Hamp had this conversation, and I got up there for a second, and I had to preface everything that I was saying from the standpoint of this is ace metaphor we're talking about here. And in reality, I take a lot of what he say with a grain of salt. The reason why I'm taking it with a grain of salt is because, first off, coming from him, just to be honest, he is pandering at this point. Even if you think he might have a point of some sort, he's kind of pandering. And the reason why I'm saying that he's pandering is because the women were saying that first over the internet. And the first way in which they were saying it, they were saying that men was on some sassy stuff. Y'all don't like women because y'all are sassy. And then it transformed into, well, we know that the men are heterosexual, but they don't like feminine energy. Okay. Furthermore, before we get into whether men like women or not, blah, 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 I also find the original conversation that women started by even saying, do men like women? I find that original. Block Charles 913, because this is a troll. He come in here all the time talking about why he block him for real. Like, block him for real. So the original conversation that women started online, I found that conversation to be disingenuous at best, because they was trying to say it. I thought it was interesting because it's a interesting time for women to ask if men like women after being on so much foolishness for all of this time. This has been a minute that y'all have been on foolishness. Now, in the grand scope of humanhood and womanhood, feminism is new. It's new. It's a new thing within the last 100 years, right? So when we want to take it into consideration of how women have behaved overall for all that time up until that, and then modern times, that's why people say modern women, because this has not been the historical behavior of women, right? But I found the conversation as women brought it up to be quite disingenuous, because what men have expressed not liking is certain behavior. I'm sorry. What men have said that they didn't like expressly has been the behavior overall of women, right? The behavior of women. And now the women want to know if men like the essence of women outside of any behavior from any woman at all. But like, do they like the essence of women? Which I guess is a conversation that can be explored. But at the same time, I just find it to be interesting after y'all have repeatedly been on some BS. And now you want to know if men like women or not. And now you want to be feeling away when the men say no. Because on Ham's panel, they said no. Not all of them, but they basically said no. And the thing that they kept going back to was the overall mindset and the behavior, right? Which you really can't blame them for going to that, because that's what they see. And men make decisions and judgments based on what they see and what they experience. So people are asking define essence, and all of that type of stuff. The essence of femininity. Does the masculine like the feminine? Is it attracted to what is feminine because it's feminine? So that was actually one aspect that I was talking about on Ham's panel. I said that women that like men, women who like men, love men. We love men. We love it when they're in their masculine energy. We love it when they're in their essence, when they're in their space, when they're doing their thing. It is attractive. It is attractive. The masculine is attractive, right? The masculine, the concept of the masculine is also attractive. We like watching men do masculine stuff, right? We like watching them do things that are in their masculine space. Whether we benefiting from it or not, we actually like that. So women that like men actually like that stuff. We like watching men be men, right? We like watching them do the stuff that they like to do, whether they like to fight or they like to build stuff or they like the whatever, it doesn't matter. So now this is irrespective of any particular male behavior. This is not inclusive of whether or not we thought any particular man had good character or bad character, or if his behavior was good or his behavior was bad. Just the masculine, period. So women were trying to figure out if whether or not what Ace Metaphor said had any weight with the men. Did the men agree with that? Did they disagree with that? Or what have you? What I noticed was when talking about it, the men they don't talk about whether or not they like the feminine. They talk about whether or not they like women's behavior. Right? And so that was kind of the consensus specifically on Hamp's panel. They was like, nah, actually, we don't kind of like women or whatever. Like we do, but we don't. Okay. I think a lot of the women was confused by the responses. But I will say this, Hamp gave an example that came right more to the heart of what was being asked, because he mentioned an anecdote about liking to see his wife. She was in a state of caring for their children, and like she was like breastfeeding the child and stuff like that. And he was saying in that moment, he could see like a beauty there and an appreciation for her in her feminine space. Because she was just in her feminine space, and he noticed it. And that was like, oh, wow, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like that. I like seeing her in that space, in that mode, right? So the reason I think it's a interesting time to ask men whether they like women is because women have been engaged in feminism. And they have been engaged in the mindset and the tomfoolery of feminism. Feminism, in and of itself, is problematic in many ways, but one of the ways that it's problematic is that it in and of itself goes against it. It does not like women in their feminine spaces. Women do not like being in the feminine space. Those who adhere to feminism and who have all of these whacked out thought patterns about what they can do and how they don't need men and all of this other stuff. Many women cannot even define what a woman is, nor describe any good qualities of a woman. And I'm talking about when women are doing what they're supposed to do. A lot of these women don't even know what they're supposed to do, let alone do it and then ask men if they like it or not. So by proxy of that, a lot of men have not experienced the good that a woman can do and seeing her in her feminine space when it's not sexual. When it's not sexual, because there's a feminine space that's sexual, and there's also a feminine space that's not sexual. And a lot of these women today do not know what their feminine space even is, feels like, don't know how to do it if it's not sexual. So then they want to be surprised when the men can only think about some attraction quality, whether it be her physical beauty or whether it be her sexual prowess or the thought of her sexual prowess. Like they can only be in that space when they're in a sexual mindset or when they're in sexual energy. It's like women can only be in a feminine space when they're in sexual space. And that's actually not good enough. You can't ask men to like more about you, to like the sexual part of you, but also value the other feminine parts of you that are non-sexual if you don't know how to do that in a space that's not sexual. Because a lot of women, when they're not in that sexual space, are in a negative female space. They're not even in a positive non-sexual female space. They go to a negative female space. So this is why men outside of the sexual arena equate feminine behavior with bad behavior. Well, we don't like the arguing, we don't like the nagging, we don't like the because a lot of women don't know where that positive feminine space is when at times when it's not sexual. And women don't know how to do it for the most part now. I think they used to know how to exude a femininity that men were attracted to even when they weren't being sexual. And men found that sexy. even if the women weren't trying to be sexual. It's lost. The women lost it. And now they want men to find it for them. But this is not for men to do. Men will like your good qualities when you show it to them. That's what they will like. They will like the good qualities when you show them some good qualities. And for the most part, a lot of these women today don't show good feminine qualities. The only men who really can see it are men who, for all intents and purposes, are married to lionesses. Those men can actually enumerate to other men the value of the woman outside of her sex. Of course, they're sexually attracted, but what's understood don't need to be explained. So we know that part. But they also can tell you about the value and what good they can see in femininity because they're being shown it. They're being shown it. They're being shown a positive portrayal in real time of feminine energy and actions that are sometimes it's sexual and sometimes it's not, but it's also not negative. Women don't know how to do that. Women lost that. Women lost that. Women lost that in trying to be men. In your quest for devaluing femininity because you think it's lower, lesser, not respectable to even be a woman in the first place and be in a feminine space where you felt like it was bad to be in a feminine space. I'm talking about the women. Felt like it was bad to be in a feminine space. You felt like wife work, mother work, things of that nature was beneath you. It was bad. It was not respectable. Not so much bad, but just something not to be respected. Because it wasn't what men do. It wasn't the space that men occupy. So because you felt lesser than, because you couldn't occupy the space that men occupy, which you consider to be more valuable than your space, you started neglecting your space. And when you neglected your feminine space and tried to go into a masculine space where you cannot be, you can't successfully be there because you're not a man. So you don't know what men really do. You don't really know the things that drive men to do the stuff that they do or whatever. So in your quest to be a co-man, you failed at being a woman. Even to the point of scoffing at the concept of men liking women in their feminine space. Because men have said before, we like feminine women. Y'all don't like feminine women because y'all think femininity is stupid. The very first ones to detest or say something negative about femininity be y'all. Y'all be the first one. Even to the point where you have a name for women who want to be feminine. Women made up the term pick me and mammies and stuff like that in reference to this. This was not something that men made up On rare occasion, I've seen men repeat it, but for the most part, this was something that the hyena female made up to say as a derogatory term for women that wanted to be in a feminine space and felt like men would have some value for what the feminine space does and what it is. Let's do a little truth bomb. The things that men do overall does carry more weight and importance than what women do overall. It does. Because if men stop doing the things that the collective of men are responsible for doing, the world will immediately collapse, because it is his job and his alone, not women, to build in the world, to caretake the external world. That is his business. That is really what he was created to do. That was the purpose of his creation. Number two, to worship in Allah. His purpose was to be the Khalifat of the earth. That's what that means, a vicegerent, the caretaker. And in that capacity, Allah gave men a certain kind of authority. He gave them a lot of responsibility. And in order to meet the responsibility he gave them a lot of qualities and ability. Now, this isn't to say every man do everything to the same level, because they absolutely not. But I'm talking about the general collective purpose and reason for men. So if men stopped doing all of that stuff that they do, building the world and figuring stuff out, the world as we know it crumbles. It just stops. It just stops. It grinds to a halt. It is important. And in many ways, it's more important. Now, just because I'm saying it's more important than a lot of what women do does not mean that the things that women do have no importance. And that's the part that a lot of women can't get over. They can't do it. They just can't do it. Because they are not equipped to do what it is that men do, especially to the level that men do it. We can do some things, but really not to the same level. And women want to be, congratulated. But they can't be necessarily congratulated for working and making money or doing everything that they think men do, because that's actually the bare minimum of stuff that men do. That's like at the bottom. A man that go out, work, take care of his own bills and stuff, that's like the man 101. That's man 101 to them. That's not some big time, oh man, you really got this. Men are looking at other men like, okay, so now what? You were supposed to do that. You take care of yourself, you get your own money, you were supposed to do that. Now what? Now what you gonna do? What's the next step? Because you gonna stop right there? You stopping right there? That's it? That's all? You don't do nothing else? Nothing? Absolutely nothing? Oh. Okay. Yee. Yikes. But okay. Men that don't do that are actually not respected by other men who do. You can't take care of yourself, my guy? You don't so when you gonna get a job? Men start asking other men. Now I've heard these conversations. Men start asking other men, what are you doing? You ain't got no money yet? You ain't got no job yet? I sent you over there with my friend had. He was hiring. You ain't go over there? I told you to go over there. You ain't go over there. You ain't call. You ain't go by. You ain't go by there. They be trying to figure out what you're doing. Try to figure it out. So the stuff that women want to get congratulated for is like bare minimum man stuff. So you kind of can't get congratulated for it. You kind of can't. And then women do this stuff thinking that they've reached some kind of pinnacle of being equal with a man. No. You are not. Recognize your space. The second half of this, we're going to discuss the woman's space. But after these messages, we'll be right back. I need everybody to go to ashkicking.com. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. If you want to keep your skin looking and feeling its absolute best and smelling good as a plus, then you definitely want to get this body butter from ashkicking.com. If this is your first time making an order, take advantage of the 10% discount using the promo code Crimson at checkout. Once again, the link is pinned to the top of the chat, ashkicking.com. Oh, you guys are bam, bam, bam. Oh, wait a minute. Bam, 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 bam. You gotta hit the like button. Bam, bam. You gotta Let me get to these super chats. Thank you so much, Lydell, passing through. Appreciate you very much. The good sis Beshu have been a member for 14 months. Thank you so much, sis. Said when hyenas call me pick me, I tell them at least I got picked. It's usually crickets after that. Exactly. Thank you. Wayne said Ace is a conundrum. No simile or metaphor needed to read through his pandering. He's concrete when speaking on females, yet abstract when speaking about men. A male with that mentality is no help to anyone. My opinion. Thank you so much. And thank you, Manos. Said proper conduct fears no exposure. The truth needs no motivation. Know your role, play your position. Women nowadays perpetrate a front, failing to cultivate their femininity, which attracts us men inherently. Thank you so much for that. So I wanted to share this. This is a snippet of LL Cool J's wife, Simone, who is having an interview. Now, I have not watched the entire interview. I have only seen this snippet. But this snippet, it is full of wisdom and a lot of the things that I want to talk about now. Because we're talking about why men are saying that they don't really like the women, or they don't, they want to like the women, but the women's behavior is off-putting, and it sours them and things of that nature. And women want to figure that out, but you don't exist in your femininity, so therefore What do you want the men to do?
Have God first.
Let me
Itself has its challenges, but you got to have God first. You got to stay on your knees praying. I'm married to a sex symbol. You know, growing up, when we first got together, I mean, you know, I've had my times where I would be going off and, you know, mad at this one because they looked at him this way. And, you know, but that was years ago. Todd and I got married in 95. His cousin, Marion, gave me this book called The Power of a Praying Wife. We have a tendency of praying and being like, Lord, change him. Lord, make him this way. Lord, make him that way. But the first thing that I read in that book was that you have to change yourself. You can't change nobody. You can have standards and you can have boundaries and all of that, but you can't change anybody. You can change yourself. And that's what I did. I changed myself.
What did you need to change about yourself?
Being flipped with the mouth all the time, going off about this, going, you know, just like
being in around the way, girl.
Yeah, being in around the way, girl. Right, exactly. And as you get older, you mature. I got to a point where women will come up to me and they'll be like, oh my God, your husband is so fine. And I'll be like, girl, I know. You think I could get a picture with him? Sure, go ahead, go and ask him for a picture. Just don't be disrespectful. The disrespect, I can't deal with.
Right.
The disrespect. I'm at
Take
54.
off the hoops at that point.
54, I'm ready to take off the hoop. I didn't feel the need to have to be every place with Todd. I didn't feel like I needed to travel with him everywhere to keep my eye on him and all of that stuff because I was very confident in our relationship and in our marriage. And at the end of the day, if somebody gonna fool around, they're gonna fool around, right? What I did as a woman was that I made my house a home. Because home is where the heart is at. The closer you get to God, the more you understand who God is in your life, is the more you're going to understand who you are and what your purpose is. Marriage itself has
I hope everybody picked that up. I hope the women picked that up. Because it was very valuable information. Men would like women more if women existed in their true femininity more. One of the ways in which we need to do that, or which we can do that, is to first stop trying to control things you cannot control. All of these outside external factors that you're trying to control. Women have tried to control the perception of men towards them through twisting their arm over it. See me as valuable. See me as an equal. See me as respectable. See me as all of these things that they say they want men to see them as, while at the same time not doing the things that would get men to see them like that. A lot of women would be chafed at the concepts that she talked about in that clip because they can't let go of trying to control things that you cannot control. Women get into one of the big reasons why men are having such trouble with women in relationships and things of that nature is because the women want to exercise a kind of control over the men in a relationship. They want to control the men's behavior. They want to control the men's thoughts and their actions and things of that nature. And they want the man to make a lot of changes. They want the man to do all of the bending backwards and, you know, molding and melding and all of changing the way he view things or the way he do things or the way he think about things. When in point of fact, she said something very key. You cannot change anyone but you. You can't change anyone but you. You're the only one that can change you, that you can control, rather. You can control yourself. And that's the thing that a lot of women fail to do, is control themselves. Don't control their emotional responses. They don't control their outbursts. They don't control their reactions. They don't control their mouth. The first thing that she said she needed to control was her mouth. And women will hear that and say, oh, you didn't have a voice in your marriage, which is not true. Controlling your mouth is not complete silence in your relationship. Controlling your mouth means better communication. Just because you're talking a lot doesn't mean you're communicating well. Because the point of communication is to get the other person to understand what it is that you're talking about, not to vomit your emotions onto them. Men don't really respond to that anyway. So the first point of control is the mouth. Got to control how you speak, when you speak, and what you say. Because if men perceive that you do not respect them by the way that you are communicating with them, they will shut off. They will shut off. They'll like tune you out because they don't feel respected by what's going on with you and how you're even interacting with them consistently. If they feel consistently disrespected, talked to, talked down at, and all of this other stuff, yelled at, you want to yell at them every time you feel some type of way, he got to be yelled at and all of that, he don't like that. Any man, really any man, well, I don't care if he's a good man or a bad man. I don't care if he's a quality man or he's a scut bucket. They don't like that. They actually don't like that. None of them actually like that. So that's the first point of control for a wife, for a woman. If you want to exude good feminine qualities, the first point of control is self-control. Self-control. Control your mouth. Communicate better. Communicate effectively. I don't care if you got to read some communication books. Learn how to. This is why I talk so much about women working through the emotional space. There's no way we can circumvent that. It's not possible. It doesn't even occur to us to circumvent it. In order for us to get to our logical space, we have to come through our emotional space. It is an absolute. There is no exception to this. None. Not a single one. Okay? We just not built to do it any differently than that. The problem with a lot of women is they can't get all the way through their emotional space. I talked about this the other day, being stuck at the trigger point. Whatever they triggered by, whatever got them in the most of their feelings, they dwell on that point and they can't come away from that point in order to work through the rest of the, okay, I was triggered. I didn't like that. Okay, now start to think. Why didn't I like that? Why did that trigger me? What was so wrong about the statement? If you can dissect it from a logical standpoint, then you'll be able to further get around the emotional part of it and start to actually think it through. And this is why a lot of times men don't think women can think, because a lot of us don't work to that point. Lazy, emotionally lazy. Lazy women don't want to acknowledge the feeling and go all the way through the feelings and come to the logic and work with the logic now, because the solution is where the logic is at. And men are put off by it because they work through logic first, emotion secondary. So they've already worked towards what a solution could be. And what frustrates them is you can't come out of your emotional space. A lot of men don't even understand why you're in the emotional space. This is why I'm explaining that women can't operate like men. It's not, we can't switch it off. Just a note to men. We actually can't switch that off. We can't think like you do. We cannot completely divorce our emotions from the start and then immediately go into logic. We're just not built like that. It's just not. We're the opposite of you. Just think of that. Like, you know, old school pictures that you used to take with film, with a camera and film. Every time you took a picture, what was produced? It was the picture, and then what was the other thing that was produced? And you saved it in case you needed to reproduce that picture. Remember, it was called a negative. They're negatives. A negative is always produced. When you used to take pictures with film, not the Polaroid, but film, take a picture, the positive is produced, but the negative is also produced. We're the negative. We're the opposite end of that. So everything that the men can do, we basically are operating from the other end of it. Both of us have logic and emotion. Men are operating from the logic. They're coming in on the logic. We're coming in on the emotion. We're supposed to be able to meet in the middle and arrive at the truth with each other, regardless of the fact that women came in through the emotional part and men came in through the logic part. Just because we dealing in emotions doesn't mean that that's supposed to lead us astray all the time. Actually, it's supposed to lead us to the right thing. If we're working positively from the get-go. The further thing that she said that was very important, after the control of her mouth, getting mad at everything and all of that, the next thing is she had to introduce spirituality. Pray, have some type of spiritual account, and that is what holds the accountability, the spiritual accountability. This is why I be telling y'all, I'm glad she said it, because now it's somebody else saying it. I'm not crazy. Lionesses do what they do because of the spiritual anchor. See, she doesn't act in that way because he was rich, because she met him when they were young. Okay? This is a young woman going through this and realizing, I gotta check me because my husband is ascending through the ranks. Men respect him. Women like him. He's talented. He's handsome. Okay? Anywhere he can go, people respect him and things of that nature. I also respect him. You see, like speaking from her perspective as a wife, I also respect him. I love him too. I love him more than all these other people. And I'm not trying to lose him because he's not just a rich man or all this other stuff that I'm seeing, but he is a good man. You have never heard her complain about him. You've never heard it. I've never heard it. So apparently, he's a good husband to her and a good father to the children as well. So she had to stop being so reactionary all the time. Self-control. This is why I be talking about lionesses have to have self-control. Control. You're gonna have the emotion. Just control how it come out and what you do with that emotion. What you do with the emotion says a lot. It says a lot. It's really the demarcation between a lioness and a hyena because we're having the same emotions, but it's the display of the emotions. I'm sure there were still times where she felt like, man, he's surrounded by these other women. And I mean, you know, I'm pretty because she is pretty. But it's always a better looking woman somewhere. You know, it's always a better looking woman somewhere. And with as many women as is just making themselves available to him, I'm pretty sure he has seen quite a few of them that maybe look better than me or better body than me or whatever. The next thing that she was talking about was having to have security in the relationship. She doesn't feel the need to follow him everywhere and try to keep up. Women who try to watch and monitor their man's every move, where he go, who all he talking to, there is an insecurity within her that she's battling and probably losing the fight, if we being honest. There's something that she's insecure about. Usually, not in every case, but usually that insecurity, even if she's not insecure about like her looks, like I know I look good or whatever, like I'm not ugly, I'm not fat, I'm not sloppy, I'm not any of those things. But a lot of the times, the women who like to monitor and watch and all that other kind of stuff and trying to check up on the men and all of that are insecure about her ability to keep being valuable to him as he go through life becoming more valuable. She is insecure about whether or not what she brings to him in his life is good enough for him to keep her around. And maybe if there's another woman that might be better than her, he gonna ditch her and go with this other woman. The problem and where it become problematic is because when the women don't figure out how to address that insecurity within themselves, they end up actually driving the men away from them by doing the thing that they think is going to keep the men with them. Watching a man like a hawk, that don't keep nobody. Because whether you call yourself watching him, following him, checking up this and checking up that, first off, you can't control where he put his penis. You cannot control that. And you cannot control that. You can't control that. Okay? You can't. I don't even know why y'all be trying to do that. That man is attached to his penis 24 hours a day and you are not. And if he want to put it somewhere, he gonna put it somewhere else. If that's the type of time he on, he gonna do that. Nothing you could do about that. So sitting around driving yourself up the wall, stressing yourself out about what he may or may not be doing, that is for the birds. That's for the birds. And y'all will ridicule wives who have said, I'm not gonna do it. Well, girl, you just want to be cheated on. No, I'm not gonna drive myself crazy because I either trust what's going on or I don't. I'm either secure about what's happening in this relationship or I am not. There is no in between. But what the lioness comes to understand is that my integrity as a wife is not dependent upon whether he do me right or do me wrong. It don't depend on that. I'm going to be a lioness even if he turn out to be a dirty dog. I'm going to be a lioness. Me. Because what a lot of these women who cannot figure out what's going on, and I learned this from my mentor before she passed. I was telling her about something. I had just got married my first marriage. I was young. And I was telling her about something my husband said. I don't even remember what it was. And I was upset about it. And everything he said, I was taking it to heart. And it would just destroy my whole world and hurt my little feelings. And I didn't know how to deal with it. And I would be upset and crying and this and that. And so I was telling her about it. And she let me get it out. She listened to me. And then she said, you can't do that. You know that, don't you? I said, I can't do what? She said, let everything he say run you crazy. Because I guarantee he ain't thinking about it and it wasn't that deep to him. So I don't know why it's that deep. I don't know why it's like that for you. Why? Why are you doing that? Why are you worried? Why are you worried about some arbitrary thing he said to you before he left out of there that hurt your feelings? Don't you realize that he has gone on about his day? He probably don't even know he hurt your feelings, and and what does it matter? She said, there is a part of your heart that does not belong to your husband. And women who try to give that part of their heart to their husband ruin themselves. They destroy themselves with it. You can't do it. The men are not equipped to handle it, and you can't give it to them. Never do that. There's a part of your heart that don't belong to your husband. I didn't understand that completely when she said it to me. I was young and I didn't really get it. I get it as an older woman. I get it. I get exactly what she meant. There's a part of a woman's heart that cannot go to her husband. The part of your heart that don't belong to your husband is the part that belongs to Allah. It's the part that worships. The part of your heart that worships that don't belong with your husband. The part of your heart that worships belongs to Allah. And you run yourself crazy trying to attach that to your husband because it's a form, in my opinion, it is a form of worshiping your husband, and he is not fit for worship. You will be angry and disappointed and hurt trying to attach worship to something that cannot handle being worshiped. He cannot be worshiped. That is what lionesses do. That's why spirituality is so important, because that part of you that has to be anchored can't be anchored with your husband, has to be anchored with God. That's what keep your sanity. You drive yourself crazy worshiping people, worshiping somebody that's going to make mistakes, somebody that's going to hurt your feelings, somebody that's going to let you down at some point, somebody that's going to disappoint you at some point, you know, and all of that. You cannot tie the whole of your heart to that. You cannot. The part of your heart that worships belong to Allah. Only, no exception. When you attach that part to Allah, that's your sanity. That's your sanity. That's when you can let go of negative things like possession and jealousies and anger that's not rooted in nothing. Being reactionary all the time. Causing arguments all the time. She would have ran her husband away had she not understood the angle of self-control, and that she needed to be somebody. She needed to grow up. She needed to mature spiritually and emotionally. That is how she was able to continue to be the woman that he chose to come back to every night, despite them thousands of women, millions of women over these years that would do anything to sniff him. And nowadays, most women can't do that. You want these high value quality men, but you don't elevate your own quality of yourself. The reason he keeps coming back to her is because he loves her. He loves her. He loves her. He loved them kids. And he liked that woman because she made herself likable. She gave him the positives of femininity so that he could experience it. I bet you dollars to donuts that no matter how fine them women is, and he might have been interested in them or not, but no matter how fine they is, when he think about it, I can't replace her. I can't replace her. Not with you. Not with you. Mm-mm. No, I don't think I can replace her. I don't think I want to replace her. I don't think I want to replace her. I don't even think I want to try to replace her. That's the thing that make your husband keep coming back, no matter where he is on this high value spectrum. He can be an average man, he can be a rich man, or whatever. It don't even matter. But men of substance and of quality, right? These are the men that I'm talking about. You have to be a woman of substance and quality. Y'all are too busy being emotionally lazy. Don't want to grow up. You a Toys R Us kid. You just want to be, and everything else just fall into place. That's not how life go. So that's what I wanted to say about men liking women. Show the good quality. Show the good quality. Show the good character. Show them. You can show them better than you can tell them. Make it undeniable. But that's up to the women to do. You can't be whatever and then want men to hunt through like a needle with a haystack to figure out which thing is good. No. Just be good as best you can. Let me get to the rest of these super chats. Thank you so much, Theo. I appreciate the very generous contribution. Thank you so much. Thank you, MR. So this is a continuous battle, especially if the spiritual attack is not intact with themselves. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ed Davies said, preach, I appreciate you. All right. Thank you all for coming through with me and, chilling with me. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Oh, wait, I almost forgot. Did anybody put that in the chat? Hold on. Because I'll be getting out of here. No, it's not. Hey, light skinned Nate, how you doing, sweetheart? Let me see. All right. We're going to get out of here, but first.
All of these styles and designs can be found at our Etsy shop in the description below. Aaliyah's Unique Boutique. At Etsy.com, follow us on IG at Aaliyah's Unique Boutique.
The link is now pinned to the top of the chat, Aaliyah's Unique Boutique. Go there to pick up you some wonderful, beautiful earrings and creations. The shop is updated on a regular, very regular basis. So if you go there and you browse and you don't quite see what you want, come back in a few days and you definitely will see something that you want to do. So once again, the link is at the top of the chat. Aaliyah's Unique Boutique. Thank you, Mark Bryant. I appreciate you for your super sticker. Jump down in the comment section, you guys. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your hostess, The Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.